All right, what's up, guys? It's Mason at M. Riley Trades on pretty much every platform. Today is Sunday, February 7th, 2021, Super Bowl Sunday. Go Bucks. And the only reason I say that is because I'm somebody who admires, I suppose, other people who display signs of mental toughness and consistency. And I feel like those are attributes that describe Tom Brady. And that's why I'm rooting for Tom Brady. Not to take anything from Patrick Mahomes or any other particular player on the field, but I have nothing but respect for what Tom Brady has been able to accomplish over his career, and that's why I'm hoping that he ultimately pulls it out. But anyway, why are we here today? So, what I'm going to do is I am going to go over trades from the week of Monday, February 1st through Friday, February 5th. I'm going to go over 5 trades in particular. 2 of them are going to be OTCs, 3 of them are going to be listed stocks. All of them are breakout plays, and one of them, which I'm going to save for last, is a big time loser. And it was actually the biggest loss of my career. Not percentage wise, but it was the biggest dollar loss of my career. And so I don't want to just talk about what I'm good at. I want to talk about the mistakes that I made on the week, which was pretty much just one trade. And yeah, let's get ready to get into it. I guess a couple of things I'll mention before I start going into every specific trade. The platform that you see on my screen is Stocks to Trade. The reason I have that pulled up is because, well, Frank, I really think that Stocks to Trade has the most beautiful charting that's out there. And I mean, maybe it makes me a nerd. I don't know. But as I've progressed in my trading, I can appreciate fantastic charting software. And I think Stocks to Trade has the best. I've tried a lot of different platforms out there. However, the caveat to that is I will tell you, I do not use Stocks to Trade for my intraday trading. For my screeners, for my scanners, all that stuff. I do not use Stocks to Trade. I used to use them. However, I think it's a very shitty platform. And it cannot handle the intraday volatility and volume in general that we're seeing in the markets these days. So I distanced myself from them quite a while ago. I still have the subscription, and that's why I'm using their charting. I actually use for my intraday scanner, I use Scans, SCANZ. I believe it's by Equity Feed, or maybe that was the former name of the company. I don't know. But I use Scans. And for my charting, I actually use my brokerage platform, my main brokerage platform, and that is eTrade Pro. That's what I use for my charting, also for the majority of my trades. And additionally, I use, for brokerages, I use Charles Schwab, which the reason I like Schwab so much, and I think you guys are going to get a kick out of this, because this is actually something I didn't know for a long time, is Schwab, as far as I know, they are the only brokerage account or broker currently that offer free OTC trades. There are no commissions on OTC trades. And originally I didn't really care because I use eTrade and they have $5 to open, $5 to close, but as I've evolved as a trader and I trade much more size. I mean, shit. I don't know the exact number, but I'm pretty sure I spent like 50 grand on commissions in the month of January 2021 alone on OTCs on eTrade. And, I mean, 50 grand for is a lot of money for a lot of people. I mean, for me, that's pretty insignificant. But if I can save the money, if I can save 50 grand and by using a different brokerage service who offers me the free commissions, I'm happy to take that. And so that's why I use Schwab specifically for OTC stocks. But anyway, one last thing before I get into these trades, I just want to let you know that I'm doing this completely unscripted. Like I actually haven't done this shit in a long time. So I'm not even sure how this is going to go. I hope my thoughts are clear and concise. I'm really just trying to share on each trade that I'm going to share with you my thought process or my thesis going into every particular trade. And then additionally, I want to let you know that, I'm in my house right now. There's people coming and going. There's dogs barking. I'm not sure if the microphone is going to pick that up, but if it does, just know, like, look, I'm doing my best here to try to give you a clean presentation, a professional presentation, but at the end of the day, if it's not perfect, frankly, I don't give a fuck because it's free and it's your choice whether you want to listen to what I have to say or not. Yeah, I just really don't give a fuck. So hopefully we don't have any issues, but there are those people out there who like to complain, and frankly, those type of people can just fuck off because I just don't care. I'm gonna try to keep this video as short as possible. As I said, I'm gonna dive into 5 different trades, and we will start right now. So first of all, Forwardly Incorporated, ticker FORW. I'll talk about what I think is important about this chart. So we go back a couple months. Back in, it appears mid-November. I don't remember if I traded it here. Maybe I did, but I don't know. I've traded so many stocks at this point that I just can't remember every specific time I take a particular trade. But that doesn't matter right now. What matters is this stock had a substantial run up back in November, topped out 18 cents or so. And then it pulled back from 18 cents down to 5 cents, consolidated for about a month. And then mid-January started to have a push back up towards that level. Consolidated for a few days and went for another breakout test. Now, I don't know specifically why I didn't trade it that day. Maybe, there's just so many stocks on watch right now, especially in the OTC market, that maybe I just missed it. I don't know. Because looking at it right now, I very well may have tried to take that trade there, but I don't know. However, the trade I actually did take was right here on this day. If you see my cursor, Stocks to Trade is identifying that as Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021. And let me talk about the thesis behind this. Okay, so first of all, the most important component to me in a trade in general is the price action itself. And if you've followed me for some time, you know that I try to do my absolute best to only focus on the trades that I understand best. And the trades I understand best are breakout trades. And I love this specific daily chart because although this isn't 20 cents, I guess this is 20 cents right here if you're following my cursor. You'll see that on the daily chart, we essentially we formed a very nice multi-week month cup and handle here. So here's your initial run up, and then this forms the cup. Just follow my cursor. You have the cup here, and then boom, attempt to break out beyond this resistance level, but failed, consolidates for a week, and then we go forward again. When it comes to daily chart breakouts, I love the cup and handle formation. And in my opinion, this is a perfect cup and handle formation. And that's why I love it so much. And in a moment, I'm going to get into the intraday levels, okay, of where I took my trade, where I exited, this, that, and the other. But if you can just see right here, I mean, these are the type of trades I like to take. Breakout level above 20 cents, and then ideally we hold it overnight. We see continuation, and we hold it, or at least I hold it as long as the trend is intact. So as I said again, I bought it on this day. I'm going to get into intraday levels right now. So once again, the main reason I took this trade is because it is a breakout chart. For me, price action and technical analysis is the most important component of the trade. However, if you did a little bit of fundamental research on this particular stock, you would know that it had ties to, guess what? I'm going to type it out right now. Oh, TSNP. I am sure that everybody knows what TSNP is because it's gone from 1/10 of a penny to looks like nearly 170 on Friday. I mean, that's incredible. But yeah, if you did a little bit of fundamental research, you would know that Forwardly Inc. actually has ties to TSNP, Tesoro Enterprises. And as TSNP began to break above 50 cents and go on its multi-day run up to $1.70, I felt like there was an opportunity here, not just because of the chart, but it had another catalyst in play. And sure enough, I think that's exactly what happened. So I actually bought right here on that 20-cent breakout, intraday breakout level. And as I've already mentioned, I like when daily levels and intraday level breakouts line up. And that was exactly what I could ask for. Now, one caveat I will say about this is in quote unquote normal market conditions, I don't like to buy midday breakouts because the likelihood of follow through is frankly low. Like, they generally don't work. And in my opinion, this breakout midday over the 20-cent level did not work. As you can see, it had a quick 10% run from 20 cents up to 22. But then it needed several more hours to consolidate before it ultimately confirmed the breakout level. As you can see, it held that breakout level for hours upon hours. And then it confirmed that that was in fact a breakout by having that push into the afternoon. And so, but in these current market conditions, I have no problem taking a breakout trade at any particular time of day because there's just so many opportunities right now, and things are, trades are working. And as long as they continue to work, I'm willing to risk my money to at least put myself in a position to have a substantial gain. I mean, that's essentially just my thought. And I'll continue to do that until the market slows down and things stop working. But as they work, I will continue to take my risks. All right, so going back to the trade, as I said, I bought here, and I want to point out, E-Trade doesn't use arrows. Like, I think I don't even know what platforms do use arrows to actually coordinate my buys and sells. I don't really give a shit if you don't believe where I bought and sold. I don't care. I'm trying to save. I want this video and all videos and content that I put out to be for those people who, who can just see the value that's here and do their best to implement it into their own trading. So I can't officially prove that this is at 20 cents is where I bought forward, but whatever. I don't really give a fuck. All the extra trades moving on, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to tell you where I bought. I'm going to tell you where I sold. I'll tell you why I bought and sold at those particular levels. For Forwardly, I bought at that particular level because it was a breakout chart, and that is the most important thing I care about. And it lined up on the daily level and the intraday level. And there's not a more reliable pattern out there that I know of where a breakout lines up on the daily level and the intraday level at the exact same time. So you're welcome. Now, we never actually had much follow through momentum, in my opinion, on the intraday level. So in my opinion, the trade was still intact because we broke above the 20-cent level. We held that level, then we had more momentum into the close. but it never really got out of hand, so I held it overnight. Now let's move to the next day. So we had a slight gap up, not much, and then we just kind of grinded up throughout the morning. And I myself, I actually bought about, I think about 800,000 shares on this particular stock at 20 cents. Now I'm disappointed because I actually wanted much more size than that. And I know, like, some of you guys with smaller accounts might be like, oh man, I wish I could buy that. Well, guess what? Like, you'll get there eventually. But the point is, I didn't get much size. And I was also managing several other trades at the time. I mean, I'm in a lot of stocks right now, and this was one of my lower priority trades. However, if I have decent gains on the table, I like to lock a little bit in along the way. So I remember locking some in. I'm trying to figure out what level is what on the chart. Yeah, so I locked in a little bit up here, above 26 cents, because I like to think in terms of percentages. In my opinion, any trade between 25 and 35% is a great trade, especially when it comes to my strategy, buying breakouts. 25 to 35%, you're in a great threshold there. And I exceeded that threshold with my decision to sell some shares at 26 cents. So I just wanted to pay myself a little bit, just in case things don't go exactly as planned. And then I came back to it later in the day and I saw, oh shit, this thing's going parabolic. So I locked in some right here above 35 cents. And then you'll see we continue to grind a little bit higher. And then we had this sharp pullback down to 30-cent level, which those are the type of moves. I'll circle it right here. Look at that. I mean, that, I don't know off the top of my head exactly what percentage pullback that is, but I mean, that's a sharp move right there. And that is exactly why I pay myself along the way, is so that I can comfortably sit through moves like that. And what I decided to do was, as soon as it popped back up from that level and started to kind of retest these highs but set a lower high, I actually sold some more up here. But then because of what I saw on TSNP, I decided that I would swing. I think at this point, with this sell right here, I still had about a third of my shares left, I believe. I'm not entirely sure. But I still had a chunk of my forwardly position there. So I just decided, you know what? I'm going to give this the chance. I'm going to hold it overnight one more time. And we're going to see if we can see some followed through momentum the next day. And sure enough, that's exactly what we had. We had another gap up and then a spike. And I believe I sold my remaining shares somewhere in this area. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this big volume candle right here, a good chunk of that was me. And now we ended up going up to 55 cents, consolidated the rest of the day. And actually the very next day, another gap up and a huge ass spike up to $1, nearly $1. So as you can see, based on the trade I just gave you guys, like, I actually missed out on quite a bit of the fucking move. Like, I missed out on a bunch, but I guess for this particular trade, maybe the lessons to take away is buy breakouts and have more optimism or reliance upon breakouts that line up on multi-time frames. So in this particular instance, the daily level was telling me 20 cents. The intraday level was telling me 20 cents. And that's why I bought at that level. Since it never got out of hand, I held it overnight. I just paid myself along the way. And I paid myself more into accelerated price action. And then because of its correlation to TSNP, I continued to hold it to see if I could get some extra profit out of it again, despite being up a substantial amount above the initial breakout level. And we got more follow through. I sold the rest of my shares. I didn't even think about looking at it again. Because frankly, you're not going to buy bottoms and you're not going to sell tops. I've just come to that realization. Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm just sitting here thinking about if there's anything else I want to say about this particular trade. And to be honest, there's nothing else. It's just follow the price action, do a little bit of fundamental research. OTC markets, Twitter, those are great resources. And then kind of, just let the trade progress. Give it a little bit of time. And fortunately, this worked out pretty quickly. Now, at this point, I've realized I've already talked for 20 minutes. And I still have 4 more trades that I want to go over. So I'm going to go over them as quickly as possible. But before I do that, because look, I'm no media expert, I don't want to pause this video and compile it later. Just give me like 30 seconds. I will be right back and I will continue this video and I will try to get it finished as quickly as possible. Thank you. Okay, I'm back. I'm going to move on to the next trade. So, the ticker was MJNA, Medical Marijuana Incorporated. Remember, for my thoughts on a trade, the most important factor or component of the, I guess the trade itself is the technical analysis and price action. I mean, I'm skeptical to say that because the most important component of a trade itself for me is risk management. However, the type of trades I'm looking for, price action, technical analysis, that is number one. And that makes up 80 to 90% of the reason to be getting into a particular stock. Now, if we go back and you know anything about the marijuana sector over the past several years, MJNA has been a former runner. And as you see back in summer of 2020, it had this run up here. I don't know. I'm not going to take the time right now to figure out if there was news or there was some type of catalyst. I don't know. But it had this run up off of a random base, consolidated for a couple days, tried to go for the multi-day breakout, had a solid breakout right there, and then it tried to go for follow-through momentum, failed. Cool. It topped out at 0.0355, okay, according to Stocks to Trade. And then for several months, it fades away, forms a nice base over a penny, and then has this big burst of volume. Probably, I'm not even going to look back at the total chart, probably as big as volume day, I'm sure. And, I haven't looked at it yet, but I guarantee this had something to do with Joe Biden getting elected. And what's the date on this? 11/6. So yes, exactly. Biden was elected, which should be, quote unquote, good for marijuana. Has this big ass volume day. I'm pretty sure ran with the rest of the sector. Attempts to gap up the next day, but just fails off miserably. Pulls back, tries to run back up. I mean, look, I don't have perfect analysis of these charts. This is just what I'm seeing here. And I continue to look back at this level, the 0.035 level. Okay? To me, that matters very much. Very much. And because we essentially tried to spike up back near that level, failed big time. all these days, if you see these wicks right here, I'm not even sure if those are completely accurate because OTCs will have these weird prints sometimes. I feel like these could potentially be accurate, but I don't know. But then let's get to this point, okay? So marijuana has started to heat up again over the past few weeks. If you follow CGC, Tilray, any of the big board marijuana plays, you'll see that there is money flowing into the marijuana sector. And what that means is it's going to create opportunities in other sectors for the less known stocks, the stocks that I don't even know if I want to call this a real company or not, but the point is that it's a ticker, it's marijuana related, and if the sector itself is experiencing momentum, it's very likely that these other tickers will experience momentum. So getting back to the chart, it starts to grind up here, okay? And what do? Grind up from this 2-cent level, and we fail at roughly 0.035. If you remember, that was a very key level over here. And then we fade off from that level, and then we start to grind back up again. And now here's the trade that I took. So, according to Stocks Trade, February 3rd, that sounds correct to me. I believe that was Wednesday, February 3rd. I remember this trade in particular. Whenever I go through my process, I like to look at my scans. I will start pulling up chart after chart, and I'll just see what is going on. And I remember MJNA was not on my watch list, or it was on my secondary watch list, but it was not on my main watch throughout the day. And as we got into power hour, I like to go back through my scans and just see if there's anything else that has popped up that wasn't on my scan earlier in the day, or maybe if there's something I missed. I remember coming across MJNA, going into the trade. I was already aware that the marijuana sector has money flowing into it, that there is momentum currently in the marijuana sector. While there's also momentum elsewhere, I'm specifically thinking about the marijuana sector here. Now I'm going to zoom into the intraday chart. Now if you'll see, excuse me. Okay. So as you'll see, it had on February 2nd, I believe, had a morning spike up to, guess what? It's not a coincidence, guys. 0.035. That's where it failed. Pulls back, consolidates all day, goes back up to test that level again, consolidates for another couple hours, and then eventually, right before the close, that's when I happened to notice the chart again. I was like, oh man, you've got this daily level that is clearly proven to be a extremely important level on multiple times because we failed at that resistance level time and again. But then on the intraday level, we are testing that daily level, 0.035, roughly. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I like the psychological numbers, 0.035. And we're going into the afternoon. I mean, there's so much things I could share in this video about what I've learned, but I'm just going to try to drop the wisdom as I can. I prefer afternoon breakouts. The closer to the close of market hours, the better. That is when I want to buy breakout. And we were getting super close. And I saw some size sitting on level 2. So I essentially started taking my position right here. And I think I bought as many shares as I could all the way up to like this point right here. So the majority of this volume is me. And if you go into Investors Underground, the chat room, I alert the majority of my OTC trades. I don't really participate in the momentum chat room because I don't know. I don't want to clog stuff up. I mean, there's a lot of traders who are way better than me in there, but I feel pretty confident in my understanding of OTCs, and so I alerted this trade live in the Investors Underground chat room, and As you can see after that point, I mean, it ripped into the close, and it was beautiful. That is the type of price action I like to see on a breakout. And I had no doubt in my mind that the catalysts in my favor, which are, again, I know I'm repeating myself here, but I do not want you guys to have any misunderstanding of why I was in this particular trade or why I kind of quote unquote knew that this is going to work out in my favor. Once again, I'm not going to go back to the chart level. I pointed out several times, if you look at the daily level, 0.035, that's your key. Daily level the daily chart has suggested several times that 0.035 is a key level. Then, on top of that, we have the intraday chart setting up, consolidating beneath that level over and over and over again. On top of that, we have marijuana as a sector, which is gaining momentum and money flow. I don't care if this is a penny stock. It's part of the marijuana sector. It's important. And then the last factor, which I actually don't even think I mentioned before. Fuck it, man. OTCs right now are hot, especially OTC breakouts and multi-day breakouts. You just have all these factors that are in play for you. You know, I had to take the trade. I didn't even get full size, and I'm disappointed about it. But I didn't even get close to full size, actually. But, you know, this is... I like a trade to work immediately. And this worked immediately. And I had no problem swinging it overnight. And now moving into the next day. If you followed me, you know that I like to sell in pieces. I like to sell into accelerated price action. And when this stock opened up, it ripped from nearly 4 cents up to 6 cents in the matter of, what is that, it's for sure less than 30 minutes. It looks like it was about 20 to 25 minutes. That's what I call accelerated price action. And I actually sold a chunk of my shares dead top at like 0.0595 or something like that. And the only reason I can even attribute my ability to sell a top like that is from screen time. It's from sitting there and watching the market for years upon years, and I was able to determine that, oh, this is at least a short-term top. And so I took off shares there. And in fact, after that point, I never looked at it again. I was still holding about 60% of my shares. I came back to it later in the afternoon. I saw it breaking out to new highs, but then it kind of faded a little bit into the close. But I was willing to take my chance going into the next day for some continuation of the momentum on penny stocks in general in the marijuana sector. And I exited my entire position in, I actually don't remember the perfect sells, the exact sells of where I exited, but I know that I exited for about a 0.083 exit on the rest of my shares. So if I look, I'm pretty sure I exited here, and then here, and then here. And ultimately later in the day, we had a slight push, but then a big pull into the close. And, if you learn certain lessons from me, or you just pay attention to what I say, I don't give a shit about buying bottoms and selling tops. Well, yes, entry is important. Yes, exit is important. Okay? You can't get emotional about what you're doing. Generally speaking, I like to think in percentage terms. And if I'm selling in the mid to low 8s from my initial 0.035, 0.036, 0.037 entries, I mean, we're talking about fantastic percentage gains there. And, stocks aren't going to run for day upon day upon day. It's, in my opinion, it's best just to take the profits. And I saw it on the chart. I kept thinking that maybe we would get some additional type of accelerated price action to sell into, and we just didn't get that. And ultimately, I got bored of it, and I said, you know what? It's not doing what I want it to do. I'm already up substantially. It's time to lock in the rest of my shares and move on and focus on the other trades I'm in. And yeah, I mean, that was essentially, I would say ultimately, what was the total percent return on this? I mean, probably nearly 100%. I mean, I made nearly $250,000 on this trade. Like, that's, I feel like, what you should take away from this, especially once your account gets bigger, is you don't have to sell the top. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. As long as you're following the trend and you're giving it a chance to work out and you're not becoming emotional about small wins or small losses, you just give it a chance to work. It can pay out big time. I mean, for God's sake, dude, I made a fucking $250,000 on some piece of shit OTC penny stock by simply riding the momentum. That is all I did. Okay? Now, I see that this video is now about 35 minutes. I still have 3 more stocks I want to go over, so I'm going to delve into that. I hope you guys are, taking away some value in my thought process from this and everything. But I promise you, I keep my trades as simple as possible, and I just try to focus on breakouts. So let's get into ZOM. ZOM. I won't even go into the whole backstory on ZOM. Let's just go over the chart, okay? So I bought on this day, February 4th. I believe that's Thursday, February 4th, 2021. As you can see, we have, the stock had a substantial run up, etc. Boom, breakout, boom. Spikes all the way to 150, consolidates for a few weeks, and now we're going for it again. I don't care how far it's come. I just care about the price action and the chart itself. And in this case, 150 is the key level there. I mean, we traded 1 billion shares on this day. Now we're back at this level. Volume is so important for me. I want to buy breakouts above key daily levels with substantial volume. In this case, this day right here, 150, over 1 billion shares traded, that level matters. Now let's get into the intraday chart, okay? I actually had it on watch all day because of this substantial push. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. I was looking at the wrong day. No, I had it on watch all day because, frankly, it just popped up on my screener early in the day, and then grinded up, and then throughout the morning. I mean, this is 2 hours of market time, and it pushed all the way up to that resistance level on pretty substantial volume. And now I don't buy breakouts into straight up spikes. Like, let's say this move right here, I know it's a hypothetical example, but let's say it would have pushed through 150 right there. I would not have bought that because I just consider that a breakout into a straight up spike. If you do I'm not going to do it right now because look, I'm limited on time. But if you do the math there, you think about its low a day, which as identified right here was 116. And you think about a push from 116 up to $1.46, it looks like, in the time frame of 2 hours, actually less than 2 hours, probably closer to like hour 30, hour 45. That's a pretty substantial percent return, especially for a stock like this with as thick of a float as it has. So had it broken out above 150, I would not have bought right there. That's just too much movement for a stock like this. But I put it on watch, and I said I will come back to this later in the day. And I remember texting one of my friends. I said, this is one of my top watches going into the afternoon. Sure enough, I revisited it later in the day. And, we had pulled back, and then we were just grinding back up. And I actually bought right here. I was part of that volume right there. And then I bought some more right here, and it actually ended up failing at high a day. But then I bought a bunch more right here. And this is actually where I got the majority of my position, was right here at about 138. I believe the pullback was 136 or 137, if I remember off the top of my head. Let's see. 136, yeah. So I got the majority of my fill at 138. And I you might be asking, okay, well, maybe Mason, you're anticipating the breakout level itself, because as we already established, the level is actually 150, but you're buying at 140, 130s, etc., and you're anticipating the breakout. I feel like that's a question you might have for me. What if it just fails at that resistance level? Well, that's a fair question. But generally speaking, my approach on breakouts themselves, and this is how I have evolved as a trader, is because I used to not trade the stocks until they broke out. However, from experience and screen time, I am now able to pretty accurately predict if that breakout will follow through. And so I will anticipate breakout levels. I just won't take full size. But the thing I love about this stock in particular is a few different factors. So number one, we have that daily 150 level coming up with substantial volume, and we know that that's a breakout on the daily chart. Now, zooming in on the intraday level, we spiked up to that level over the course of the first 2 hours of market time. We failed, but we consolidated right beneath it all day, and then we grinded back up. And when a stock has that type of price action, I just like it. That's what I like to see. I like to see a stock trying its best to break out, even if it's underneath the breakout level. That's just frankly what I like to see. I like to see that slow grind back up towards the breakout level. Additionally, Zomedica, it's a biotech. And in case you're not paying attention right now, I know it's hard because we have a lot of hot sectors taking place. Biotech is hot. You have Sava, SAVA, which I haven't touched myself at all. That's biotech, and it's had a substantial run recently, and that creates momentum in the rest of the sector. And you'll see that when I get into my next trade on OCGN. It's just the point I'm trying to make here is the more factors that you have in place, the more likely it is that that trade will work out for you. And I may have already, I'm talking about so much here, I may have slipped my head on some of the other things I wanted to talk about ZOM. But ultimately, it comes down to the price action, comes down to the key levels on the chart. I never saw, this is a big lesson for me, this is my thoughts on trading. Remember, just my thoughts. As long as I don't see accelerated price action above the breakout level into the close, I'm happy to hold it overnight. And what happened is we wake up the next day. It actually didn't really do anything after hours. Didn't do anything pre-market. But we had, eventually later in pre-market, we had this nice push. And then, this would have been a gap from the previous close. Big burst of volume. And I'm proud of this because I took the majority of my profits right here, pretty much near the top. I think the top, if I remember correctly, was 194, 195. 195. I got about 75% of my shares off at 192. So pretty happy about that. And then I watched it grind for a while. And we actually took out the low of day here. That made me a little uncomfortable, but I decided to hold on to some of my shares to see if we could get some type of maybe parabolic push later in the day to $2.50, $3. But as we kind of grinded back up and we just kept failing at these levels, I just decided to take it off, the rest of my shares off into some chop around here. Probably right here. I honestly don't remember. It wasn't significant size. So as my size diminishes in a trade, I just kind of care less and less about it. But anyway, let's go back to the exits real quick. So why did I decide to exit ZOM in the 190s? So I'm actually going to pull up my calculator real quick because I don't know the percentage off the top of my head. But I know that my average entry price, once my full position was accumulated, was about 141. And I'm going to do some math right here. Okay. So if you do the math, an increase from approximately 141 to 195 is about a 38 to 39% increase in price. And as I've already mentioned earlier in this video, my heuristic of a great trade, not an okay trade, not a good trade, a great trade is 25 to 35%. That's what I consider a great trade. And you wake up, the market opens. I mean, although I'm up much earlier, the point is the market opens in this particular instance. And we have, I'm just looking at the chart right now, within the first fucking 10 minutes, we trade, 20, 30 million shares? And it's all on volume that is increasing the price. That matters to me. I'm up over 30% of my money. I was barely in the stock yesterday for actual market time. And we open up the day and we just have this big burst of volume. I like to sell into that. I like to sell the majority of my shares into that push because I've seen time and time again where you have this flood of volume right at the market open. And after that initial push, the stock gets shit on. And I mean, you could argue that this stock kind of did get shit on. I mean, it pulled back all the way from its high a day to the opening price, and then it pushed back up, but then faded off hard from that and ground up. I mean, I don't know. The point that I'm trying to make here is if they quote unquote the chasers, the short sellers, whoever it is who's on the opposite side of my trade, if they want to take my shares so easily from me at such a premium, I will happily give it to them. They can have it. I don't even care. I'm not going to think twice about it. I'm not in the business of intentionally trying to always buy bottoms, sell tops. As long as I'm taking the meat of the move, I do not care. And my ability, once again, to remind my listeners here, the meat of the move, I'm not always going to get it perfectly, but the meat of the move really, and your ability to determine what the potential move is or will be, comes with your experience and screen time. I cannot stress that enough. I don't care what anybody else says. There is no way that you will be able to discern what certain things are going to do and this, that, and the other and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. There's no way that you can do this without substantial screen time. Okay? That's why I was able to nearly sell the majority of my position at the top, simply because I have the screen time. I know price action. I know fucking level 2. I've studied it for years. I've taken handwritten note upon handwritten note. And it's just, I sell tops like that quite often. Now, we've been going at this now for about 50 minutes. I have 2 more trades I want to go over. It's going to be one more win, and there's going to be some important lessons in that particular trade. And then I'm going to go over what I think is the icing on the cake. Not the wins, but the big-ass fucking loss I took this week. Worst day of my career. Once again, excuse me for just a second. I don't care if it... As I said before, I don't care if it's not professional. I need just a moment. I'll be back in like 30 seconds. I'll go over these last 2 trades, and we'll close the video out from there. I'll be right back. Okay, guys, I'm back. Let's go into OCGN. Next trade. Now, okay. So as you'll see, going back into the OCGN chart from, what is this, like a month ago? Back in late December. Okay, I actually remember this day. I was pissed that I did not take this gapper trade on this day right here. I actually ended up having a great day the next day, but man, had I fucking taken that gapper trade, would have been a career day. Super pissed I missed that, but I didn't forget about it. Okay, so has this substantial run. I don't even remember the news exactly. Um, we consolidate. I mean, when you trade a, what is this? 800 million shares one day, 900 million the next day. Like, people are paying attention to that stock. That is where volume matters. Okay, lots of volume. We consolidate for over a month. Obviously, an attempted breakout here, but when you have a move from, what is this, fucking 50 cents to $3, like, I didn't even bother touching it on that gap day and for a breakout because it's too much too soon. However, we come back to it a month and a half later, and I believe there was news this day. Okay, I'm trying to finish up this video. I'm minding me a double check right now, but I'm fairly certain there was news this day, and it was back on watch for me because I thought we were going to have some continued momentum. I thought this was going to break out substantially. I didn't take the trade on this day, and it very well could have gapped and made this move, and I would have missed the trade yet again. However, we have these consolidation days right here, and as you can see, we have this big breakout here. Okay, but and it was on my main watch list. I'm just trying to focus more on OTCs right now, where I didn't like pay a heavy amount of attention to it. However, important lesson here. This is exactly why I think that chat rooms and Twitter, assuming you follow the right people and you're in the right chat room, can be very, very useful. So I happened to pull up. I remember I had locked in plenty of money on Friday morning, had initiated a few new trades, and I decided to chill for a moment because I was just exhausted. The way I'm working in the market right now, I'm exhausted. But I pull up my phone, I get on Twitter, and Nate Michaud, Investors Live, mentioned something about OCGN. And I saw him chirping about it earlier in chat, like earlier in the day. I was like, oh shit, that's right. I know the level on this chart. I need to pull this up real quick. So that's exactly what I did. And now let's get into the actual trade. For me, this was a breakout trade going in. And I knew the level that mattered, which was 330. 320s, 330s. It's what mattered. I mean, it's where this stock topped out the other day. Actually, I guess it topped out 373, but I guess just when it comes with experience, you know what levels matter. I was able to determine 320, 330 that matters. I pulled up right after I saw his tweet. I pulled it up. I'm like, oh shit, this is something that I want to be a part of if it begins to break out. And you'll see the highs right here on the day were 342. So it gapped up a little bit and then kind of flushed in the close, flushed into the open. I'm sorry, guys. My attention's all over the place. The dogs are barking. Not sure you can hear that. Kind of just doesn't really work out at the open. That's essentially my thought process. But we set a bottom. We grind back up, get some volume. We grind, start to push up again. We fail at that initial high a day, which for me, like, it's not even that. It's not like that 342 level is that significant. But as the day built on, we failed there. We pulled back. We set a low at 330 again, and we just consolidate. And this is the type of price action I like to see going into a breakout. Is constant failure at that level and then just grinding back up, testing it. Let's fail again. The more times it fails, that is what I want to see. I want to see it fail. Like, people get discouraged by that, but the more times it fails, the better. Because when it ultimately overtakes that level, that you generally see a powerful move that follows. And in this case, that's exactly what we saw. So I remember going back to the tweet whenever I saw Nate's tweet. I already saw him talking about it earlier in the day. I think I saw it about right here, sub 340. I wanted to see how it handled that level. And all of a sudden we overtook it. We had volume coming in, pulled back, but then it was just game time. And I pretty much bought all my shares right here, 343 entry level. I got 300,000 shares. And the thesis going into the trade from the beginning is, hey, this is a breakout, daily level, intraday level. They have had fantastic news over the past 2 months, and news that OCGN has legs. They had more news the other day. They are a biotech stock with Sava doing what it's done, with other biotechs doing what it's done. There is a good chance that this trade works out because it's in a hot or sector that is working right now. And all of those factors gave me the confidence that we would see some momentum in this trade. And now something that actually just came to mind that I haven't really talked about so far. Like I said, guys, I'm doing this on a whim. I don't have written notes for this. I'm just trying to go over some trades. Anyway, something that has not come to mind that I have not mentioned up to this point is, okay, how are you managing your risk? In this case, I decided to take the trade over the intraday level, which at the morning was topped at 342. We pulled back. We grinded up. We grinded up more. We failed at 340. We pulled back slightly, only at 330. Then we grinded for another hour and a half, more than that, hour 15, hour 20, and then we went up to that 340 level again. For me, I like to keep things simple. My risk on the trade was low of day, so I was risking roughly 30 cents to make 30 cents plus slippage, because I told you I bought 300,000 shares. If I wanted to sell those 300,000 shares at 310, that probably would not happen. Maybe, but not. So I was risking $100,000 on the trade. Basically, if we got all the way back down to the low of days and we broke that low of day support, I would have been selling all my shares and smacking bids. And had I been wrong, I basically would have lost $100,000 with slippage. But anyway, so when you come to this trade, we took out the high day, and as I said, I bought right here. I don't think it gets better than this. The trade started working instantly. The thought process was always to hold it overnight, because I love weekend trades. Weekend breakouts are the most reliable pattern I know of. But after I bought this, I mean, as you can see, I wish I could have VWAP on the chart, but Stocks to Trade just doesn't do that. I mean, we just went straight parabolic / squeeze mode. I'm sure there were some chasers in there because you have people who like to chase breakouts, but in reality, there were definitely some shorts here in this trade that were caught off guard, and they got brutally fucked. And what I ended up doing was I took off the majority of my shares right here over this $5 push, and then I took off the rest up here near 550. And I think that entire move in about an hour's time frame was 75% in 1 hour. And I locked in $500,000. And it's just like, I understand the trade from the beginning was to swing it over the weekend because we have a powerful breakout here. But when you make money that quickly, I mean, I've just learned that generally speaking, it's best to lock that in. So that's why I decided to do it. It's disappointing because going into the weekend, you'll see that it ended up being a major gapper. And for every dollar, I would have made $300,000. And it's, this could have been one of my biggest trades of my career going into Monday. I mean, I won't be surprised at all to see this 10 to 12 Monday morning. But, going back, these are the last points I'll make about this particular trade. It's important to be in the right chat room. For me, that's Investors Underground. It's important to follow the right people on Twitter because there are great traders on Twitter who share very helpful things, very helpful tickers, very helpful price levels. And without in this particular instance, without being a part of a fantastic chat room or following the correct people on Twitter, I would have missed out on $500,000. And I think anybody wants that money. So I'm super happy about that. But it's not like the point I want to make here is not like I followed somebody else's alert or something like that. I already knew going in because it was on my watch list. I knew what the key levels were. I knew the circumstances surrounding this stock. And whenever I saw the price or the chart itself and what it was doing, and it was grinding up, I knew shorts were in trouble. I knew how important this level was. And I instinctually took the trade. I knew exactly what my risk level was. And, I've never seen a trade itself work out as quickly as that one did. And, when you make that amount of money in such a short period of time, generally it's just best to lock it in. I don't know. Those are my thoughts. Now, this video is really dragging on much longer than I initially thought. I'm going to get into the last trade. And this one is very important because I lost over $500,000 on this at the beginning of the week, and worst trade of my career. Not worst trade percentage wise, which generally speaking, I think you should think in terms of percentages over dollar gain or dollar loss. You should think in terms of percentages. Now, this particular trade, let's talk about everything that was wrong with it. Okay. So SNDL. So with the momentum last week, SNDL caught, along with everything that was going on in GameStop. You had stocks like Naked, CTRM, AME or AMC, whatever. You had all these stocks that like Wall Street Bets or just forums or discords or anything like that were going after, and SNDL ended up being one of them. So it had this big ass gap, substantial spike in the morning on huge volume, failed, just faded off all fucking day, got destroyed. But SNDL is marijuana, and it's in it's in a hot sector, and it started to grind back up, and it failed right here again at 125, consolidated again, started to push back up, and I'm like, oh shit, it's in the right sector, it's in the right price range. You have a lot of people on Twitter who I personally respect talking about the stock, although they're in from different levels. I'm like, oh shit, you know what? This is it's creeping back up to this breakout level right here, which is 136. I'd prefer to think in terms of like whole numbers, so 140. Grind it back up here. I will not be surprised at all if this, closes strong, gaps up after hours, continues to gap pre-market, and we have a nice spike and squeeze and chasers all entering in the next day. But that's not what we had. In fact, we only had a slight decrease in price, to be honest. So let's talk about the entries and the exits here. So I don't care what other people say. I do not mind buying intraday breakouts. Just my style. And it's less reliable on listed stocks, but OTCs, it works pretty well. So I think I took my first entry up here, somewhere up here on SNDL. And then I bought more down here, and I bought more down here. And ultimately, right, my risk level was sub $1. And then what happened is it started grinding up into the close, and then it took out this 120 level, which if you were watching SNDL closely that day, I mean, there was a huge fucking wall at 120. And so whenever it broke out above that 120 level, and the stock's closing strong, it's right there at the breakout level, it's at the right sector. We got people on Twitter talking about it who I, respect their decisions. I decided that I was going to take some huge size at this level right before the close. And to be honest, I kind of threw my risk out the window. I was like, with all these other factors going on that I just mentioned, I just don't see how this doesn't work out tomorrow. Well, guess what? I wake up the next morning, there was an offering. It comes back near $1. And with the amount of size that I had, which was several million shares, I think my average was maybe 114, 115. I don't know exactly, but I had several million shares, and it simply didn't work the way I thought it would. And 20 cents or 15 cents, whatever, made all the difference. I mean, that cost me $500,000. And so, I essentially exited some into this push, and then sold some more here, and I sold the rest here on this break of $1. And overall, it was just a shitty trade. And this video is getting a little long. I have things that I want to do the rest of the day. I want to go on a walk with my family and watch Super Bowl and this, that, and the other. So this is what I'll try to leave it at. Okay? Why was this such a shitty trade? Well, I think the biggest thing it comes down to is the risk management. I was sitting here, and despite me... Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I want to make this as clear and concise as possible. What do I usually advocate for? I always advocate for you being your own self-sufficient trader. Okay? Now, however, no matter what I preach as a trader when it comes to process, that does not mean that I cannot make mistakes or be influenced by outside forces. And in this particular instance, I mean, it's just a shitty trade. I threw risk out the window. I listened to what other people had to say about the stock. I kept buying into strength as opposed to dips or waiting for proper consolidation. I just, all around, it just was not a good trade. And as you'll see, it actually ended up, had I held a day, it would have come back up here and I would have actually been in profit. And for all we know, SNDL is heading much higher in the next few weeks, and I won't be surprised at all if it is. However, the only thing I did right about this trade is that I took my fucking loss, accepted it for what it was, and decided to, even though it hurt in the moment, I was and still am aware of the market conditions that we are in. And I had to step away for a moment and then reset and say, hey, the loss sucks. Get over it. Try to act like it didn't happen. Get back to the proper process that works in the long term, and take the trades that you need to take today. That's exactly what I did. And it set me up for the next day, and then the next day and the next day. And despite a fucking $526,000 loss early in the week, I was able to, finish up, I think, like 1.8 million on the week. And that's just crazy to think about. I mean, that's, I'm lucky because we're in a market with such abundant opportunities, but the ability to acknowledge that you did something wrong and then move on from it and reset as quickly as I did, like I'm proud of that skill, I suppose. And I haven't made a mistake like that in a very long time. So anyway, I hope you can take something away from all this. We're running on over an hour and 10 minutes now. I'm about to go on a walk, and we got the Super Bowl in a couple hours. Yeah, I'm literally gonna upload this video as soon as I'm done with it. I'm not gonna rewatch it. I don't have time for that crap. Hopefully it's good. I know that my thoughts may not have been as clear and concise as I would have liked them to have been, but I did this all on a whim. I just wanted to go over as many things as possible. The last things I'll leave you guys with is the DVD that I initially tweeted about a couple of weeks ago. Is just to do something like that correctly. I guess I was ignorant or naive at the beginning to think that I had the capability of finishing that so quickly. Now I'd like to point out to you that this is a work in progress, and it'll come when it comes. It's free. I'm going to share everything I know about trading with you, so just bear with me. Now, in the meantime, I'm going to do more things like this. Last weekend, I did my live Q&A. This weekend, I'm doing this live this recap of a few trades throughout the week, and I might continue to do videos like this. Just let me know if you like it, because believe me, I think I don't know if what I said here was shitty or not. Like, I really don't know. I'm just talking to a fucking chart in front of my face. So just let me know what you think about this. I'll try to continue over the course of the next few weeks or whatever to put out some regular content so you can immediately go apply that into your trading. But the ultimate project here is the DVD. That's what I really want to get that done. And I just have no doubt in my mind that anybody who watches it will appreciate it and will be able to immediately go out the next day and implement some new thought processes or habits or anything in their trading and have a positive impact on their trading. I just have no doubt in that. So anyway, guys, I hope y'all have a great Sunday, a great week coming up. As I've been mentioned before, if you're a newer trader especially, focus on breakouts. Like, they are working so well right now. Focus on breakouts. Like, that is the fucking golden ticket, in my opinion. Focus on the breakouts. Manage your risk properly. Don't do anything stupid. Do not overtrade. If you can't manage 30 positions at once, then don't manage 30 positions at once. Manage 3. Do whatever it is that you have to do to be comfortable and trade what it is that you understand. So I hope y'all enjoyed this. I'm going to head out. Take care. Catch me in the IU chat room, OTC room specifically. Hopefully I can give you a few multi 100% runners this week. Anyway, take care, guys. Give me some feedback on this video. See ya.